teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. Big time, lot of sun. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try to take it from me, yeah. Big time, big time, big time, big time. Running up the numbers, that's a lot of crime. Try and take it from me, must be out your mind. Lot of sun, smoky in the air, that's a lot of crime. It's running over with the dollar signs. Try and take it from me. Big time. I got a lot of shine. Running up the numbers, that's a lot of grind. Try and take it from me, must be out your mind. I'm big time, lot of shine. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try and take it from me, from me, from me, from me, from me. Big time, number 9. Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Numbers, that's a lot of crime. Try and take it from me, must be out your mind.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Ysn's Power Hour. DJ Yoakley right here. We got Trey, well lit, well designed, with a beautiful backdrop, and that is real. That's not fake.
Thank you.
Believe it or not, Donnie Riccatelli's is real as well. So do not adjust your monitors. And, of course, CJ is back in the log cabin after a long morning of hunting bears and raccoons in the wild forest of Beaver, Pennsylvania. So, gentlemen, let's start with how are we?
Doing great.
Great. Amazing.
Did you catch anything this morning?
No.
No bear traps set down?
Nothing. No, it's too snowy.
All right. It is... the 18th of January, so we go to our on this day in sports history, and this is going to be one of the topics for today that we're going to talk about, because I don't think this happens too much anymore, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. On this day in 1950, Indians pitcher Bob Feller, after a 15-14 season, takes a $20,000 salary cut to $45,000. The pay cut was Feller's own suggestion. So after the season, he said, listen, I didn't do my part. I'm going to take a $20,000 pay cut. That just doesn't happen anymore, nor will it probably ever happen again. I know Roethlisberger did it last year, but I think that was by necessity as opposed to by what he wanted to do. So from that standpoint, guys, my question to you is, what player would you say at the professional level deserves a 1/3 pay cut at that into their contract?
Just one player?
I mean, you can just list them if you want to.
Not to get into anything too much, but probably Kyrie, right? I mean, he's only playing half the game, so therefore he should probably
take half the salary.
Yeah, take half the salary if he's only playing half the games. Now I know a lot of people won't agree with that because of his impact, but
can
if
he
you're
only
playing
play in road games?
Yeah, he's only playing in road games. So, and he already missed a good chunk of the season. So
what's the use in that?
I mean, he is a top 5 point guard in the league probably when he's playing full time. So I mean,
but he's not. So what is he now?
I still think he's top 10. I mean, I think he's still very efficient when he plays. The problem is he only plays half the time. So
And that's just because of the New York mandate on
vaccines.
the jab.
Yep.
That's interesting to me, and nobody else wants him.
No. It's kind of like the whole Ben Simmons thing. Everybody's scared. They've had so many problems. There's a fear of trading for him.
I guess you could count me just absolutely confused because I haven't followed this at all because I'm not an NBA guy. But that is a little. It's got to be frustrating.
Oh yeah, especially with Kevin Durant out 4 to 6 weeks now. So now James Harden, who you saw this a couple of years ago when
Did
KD
he break
was
a
in,
nail?
who KD?
Kevin Durant.
No, it's his knee again. I know. He's soft as Charmin, but still.
Doo-doo paper.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you saw it a couple years ago. Now Harden has to do a majority of the stuff at home, and that didn't work out a couple years ago. So
All right,
I think it should be Kyrie.
We got Kyrie Irving. Let's go with Donnie. Anybody you can think of right off the top of your head?
I mean, Kyrie's very valid, but I would go opposite coast and go LeBron James. I just think he's all for show now. He's not – the guy doesn't play as hard as he used to, and it's so obvious. I know he's getting older, everything else, but man, he's just out in LA just so he can get his extracurriculars all handled. I mean, he's a flop artist. It's just it's hard to watch anymore.
He's always been a flop artist.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's brutally bad now.
One of these days he's gonna break a hip.
Yeah, did you see the play that he made where he clapped his own wrist to make a basket? He made the basket, but he smacked it off his wrist.
I think that's
And then
smart.
he complained to the referees that he didn't get a foul call.
Don't the backyard players do that? They
Yeah.
go up and do this guy.
But his own damn wrist, and you're complaining that you didn't get a foul call. He's just weird.
CJ, anybody you could think of?
The
The entire Pirates roster.
I was gonna say, what Pirate?
Well, they're not making much anyways to
That's
begin
true.
with. So, but for baseball, Robinson Cano has been making just a boatload of money, and he hasn't played in a couple years because of steroids. So, you know, and it's a shame because I liked Robinson Cano even when he was with the Yankees because he was such a smooth second baseman and, you know, had a lot of power from the left side. But it's a shame, you know, sort of the downfall he's had really since the end of his Mariners tenure. And that contract was just, it ate them apart, the Seattle Mariners. The other one I would say was, even though he retired this past season, was Chris Davis with the Orioles.
Oh, yeah.
He made a lot of money to hit 190. A lot of money to hit 190 and 20 home runs. So, I mean, you know, he had a couple good years, but, you know, sometimes you got to be a little bit more wise with the money you spend.
You'd think with the Bobby Bonilla contract in place, more teams would
Right.
understand that it doesn't last forever. And these players, they just have this short window. They're trying to maximize. And guys like Chris Davis, once he gets paid, he doesn't care.
No.
Doesn't care. He's not going to put any more into his craft. He's not that guy. He's not a Derek Jeter type guy that's going to want to be in the Hall of Fame. He's getting millions and millions of dollars to, like you said, hit 190.
That's funny. I thought of you guys the other day. You brought up Bobby Bonilla, and was it Sunday? I was going through. My father-in-law had a box of baseball cards and random cards and stuff, and they were all mixed in there. And I found all kinds of Barry Bonds Pirates cards, Bonilla Pirates cards. I was like, "What in the world is going on here? This is awesome." And I thought to myself, like, man, can you imagine if everybody was as smart as Bobby Bonilla right now with their money?
His agent was probably the guy, right? Not Bobby.
Well, I mean, somebody had to pitch it to him, and he had to say yes, right?
That's true. I'll have to show you my table I have at home. We made one of those tables. It has I don't even know what they're called, like the basket kind of things, and they're all turned over, so every side has its own basket, and then in the middle it made like a square. So we filled the square up with baseballs, and around the table, like on the tabletop, is baseball cards, and they're all Pittsburgh Pirates because my entire basement is dedicated to PNC Park. Like I got turf. The stairs going up is the dirt, but it's that perfect brown, so it looks like dirt. I'll send you a picture of it. But I remember like baseball cards were such a huge part of my childhood that I had to have it in my man cave, something baseball cards. So that was really cool. And then on the bottom, my wife was really crafty. On the bottom, she took the baseball bats. We had to cut the bottom handle off the bats.
Yeah.
I think you guys have seen it. My staircase is all baseball bats. So we put the baseball bat handles as the legs on the bottom. So
That's sweet.
she's crafty. That's Sarah Oakley. She is clever. Okay, so from that topic to, I don't know if you guys caught WFMJ last night. Dana Balish had a one-on-one interview with Doug Ute, who is the executive director of the OHSAA. And they had said that they were very pleased with the way that things had occurred in football season with the 16 weeks of football games and the 16 teams, or is it 12? 16.
16.
Yeah, 16 teams that got in. So from that standpoint, it doesn't sound like anything's going to change. So when you think about this, 16 weeks for the rest of the way, and it's only going to grow. They're never going to digress it because that means they'll make less money. Are you comfortable with 16, or at this point, would you just rather see everybody go into the OHSAA football playoffs? That's the question of the day. Trey, we'll kick it over to you first.
It's a tricky question. It's a tricky conversation because obviously I went to Ursuline. I saw that them go to state and how long the process was to even get to state, how long it felt like we were in the playoffs and going game to game to game until we got to the state championship. So I do think 16 is a lot, but I also don't think that everybody should get in. I don't believe in participation trophies. So I don't think that everybody should necessarily get into the playoffs just because they played basketball or football games, I should say. So I don't think everybody should get in, but I think we could find a lower amount than 16. There's got to be a happy medium, but obviously they won't do that because of the money issue.
People like 12, people like 8. You know, some people
I think 8's perfect.
People even push for 4, and I think 4 is not enough.
I don't think so.
Because that'll make everything. I mean, you want to expand the football season an extra 2 weeks just so you can get 4, but I'm not, as much as I was against 16 at the beginning, and obviously I'm not the one playing, I didn't think it was terrible going that extra week or so. But Donnie, I know you have different feelings on it.
Yeah, I mean, the year I went to state in 1994, we only had 14 games. We were 13-1. And I believe it was just a couple years after that they expanded it to 15 games. Everybody thought, wow, that's a lot of games. And now 16 games is crazy to me. But I got to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the opt-out to where you could play a week 11. I do understand where a lot of these schools like, hey, let's get that extra game in, you know, for whatever reason, you know, they want to get an extra game in or whatever, or maybe that a game canceled during the regular 10 games. But if you're going to make a 16 team per division, what was it? Was it Division 1 or 2 where they had somebody that was almost, they didn't even win a game or something, or they won one game and they made it in or something? Yeah. I don't know. If you're going to do that, you might as well let everybody participate, just like basketball does, just like everybody basically does besides volleyball does, you know, just everybody besides football, because if it is all about money. I mean, they're only doing it because they're making money. So you might as well have everybody participate. I don't like the opt-outs. I don't like the other team's schedule in that week 11. You're either in or you're out. To me, I just think 16 is just way, way too many. I loved the fact that when we were in, there was the best 8. You know, best 8 in each region went at it. I can see a case for 12 maybe. I just felt 16 was way too many.
Okay, CJ, your thoughts on the OHSAA? Not only, I mean, they didn't come out and say that they would keep it, but they said they were pleased with the 16 team. Do you like it?
I'm sort of a fence sitter on it because, for me, I've always appreciated at the high school level just playing more games, but I hear what Donnie's saying, and you know, you want the best teams going at it for the playoffs. I really see both sides. I appreciate that. I understand it's money, but I appreciate that they're letting the kids play a little bit more. But then I hear a team goes 1 and whatever, and I'm like,
One
that's
and
not a
nine
playoff
makes the
team.
playoffs.
1 and 9. It's not. I need a playoff team. So, it's a little different in the Whippeals, the way that they structure it. I think the Whippeals has a bit more competitive, but however they got to do it.
We're getting spammed
Yeah,
on
I saw that too.
Oh,
on our chat. So
Yeah.
How come I never
Um,
see those comments?
you want to see it?
I
I don't see him either.
Tell me it's somebody that wants to throw a snowball in my face again.
No, no,
Not
no.
today,
That's
not
not that.
today.
It's not like that.
The French flag.
Oh,
with
I
people-
see those comments all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, sweet. Sign it up, Deej. You got this.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Siggy says D7 had 11 teams with losing records in the playoffs.
And here's the other thing too, D7. All right, let's talk about this too, because again, my sophomore year was the first year we went to 6 divisions, and I thought that was a lot. 7 divisions is tough, because I get it, like the difference between the number of enrollment in Division 6 versus 7. 7 just picks up everybody else, right? And if you have one boy in enrollment, you're Division 7, no matter what, But I just think that for competitive balance, like, what was it? Was it in the 70s or maybe even early 80s? They used to have, A, double A, triple A. That was it. Like, in schools like McDonald were playing Youngstown South, and Youngstown South was way bigger than McDonald, but it didn't matter. They still McDonald went in and beat them. It did, like, that's just competitive. It's you're either going to get good or you're not. I think we've weakened a lot of this stuff by going to these smaller divisions, and that's just so many schools that they easily should just be competing at a Division 6 level. I don't know. Again, it's all money driven.
Do you think there should be like a hot zone kind of, because now this year teams will be reallocated. They'll be looked at and reallocated. Now I've heard people talk about what they're calling it, a hot zone or something along those lines, where like you hear South Range is 2 kids away from being D6.
Yeah.
So the hot zone would be like 10 kids, right? So if you're in that hot zone, you get to choose for that 2 years or whatever it is, whether you're going to be D6 or D7, or I'm sorry, D6 or D5, in that particular case. Do you think that hot zone would be more beneficial to schools to be able to at least choose their destiny, their path a little bit? And before anybody says that every school is going to say, hey, we're just going to play down, that's not necessarily the case, because they look at their path in the majority of their sports, and that's the way they're going to choose, I would assume. So would you like to see one of these hot zones that especially with 7 divisions in football, that teams can choose up or down?
That's a so I don't. I know that like it would benefit the school obviously, because then you get to pick, like you just said, but that's tricky as well, because like I don't feel like that there should be an option for a division. I think you have that set amount of kids, you're in that division. I don't like the whole, you know what, I'm looking at this D7 and we don't want to play this many teams because this many teams is better than this division. I don't like that choice of avoiding teams almost. So I think that you should keep it at where it is right now. I don't like the whole hot zone thing.
Okay. CJ?
Yeah, I'm with them. I tend not to like, pick and choose. Let's just avoid these teams. And the way they do it in PA, Aliquippa is going up to 5A. So and they're going to be playing Pittsburgh schools. So they don't have a choice really in their say. Whatever it is for the PIAA, whatever they decide you're in, you can maybe appeal it, but you're not going to get far. Being able to choose sounds a little bit silly to me. It should go based off what your enrollment is.
But it does. It's just basic, because what you'll hear a lot is, well, we're only 7 people away from being one more drop. So Okay, you're in that hot zone. You get to pick. Now, from a South Range standpoint, they're never going to back away from Kirtland. But it'd be nice for them to be like, yeah, you look where we're at right now. We got a Brungardless Springfield moving forward. Yeah, we'll take a D6 this for the next 2 years. Or, let's say Kirtland drops, because Kirtland has been known to fluctuate between D5 and D6. And South Range can be like, yeah, we'll stay where we're at. We like our path. One of those.
I mean, I like the competitive balance that Whippeal does, like with Aliquippa. I mean, look at like Ursuline. They could have beat any Division I program in our area this year. What division is Ursuline now?
I believe we're D4. Yep.
D4, right? So I mean, you're talking. They play a great schedule. They've beat Division I. They beat Division II. So I do like the fact that they can that in the Whippeal they have that competitive balance where they move teams around. I don't know. It's tough. Like South Range being 2 guys away. I don't know if I'm South Range if I want to boast that I'd be D6 though. You know what I mean? It's like, look, hey, I would rather brag it to the point where like, hey, we're beating all these teams, and oh, by the way, we're only 2 boys away
and
from.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I came off wrong.
No. I think you did. I think
imagine.
Yeah, you said it right.
Imagine if we were D6, and they're not wrong.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
There's some obstacles in D6 that they're not really explaining, and they got.
But I don't think they would want to go D6. I think they're building towards being bigger, badder, faster, down the line. And I would look at it as a grouping of divisions. I wouldn't say like, it's just tough because like I think what was it 2 or 3 years ago, Division I went to a 1A, 1B, where they allowed 6. That was the first time D1 allowed 16 teams into the playoffs. This D2 wasn't able to do it 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. They didn't do it, but Division I did. They went to a 1A, 1B as far as the size of schools because Boardman's Division I, but so is Menor. Well, they're 2 now.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying at the time, Boardman's Division I and Menor's Division I, and there's probably 600 or 800 more students at Menor.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. It's a very tricky equation. I would not want to be on the OHSAA competitive balance committee or whatever committee that would be to determine that because it's tough. It's got to be tough.
Turning the page, boys, to you want to talk about competitive balance. It has been competitive trying to get games going on with this snow overnight on, what was that?
Sunday into Monday.
Sunday into Monday. Okay, my days are all messed up because we haven't done a game. So today I can tell you what we do have, and I can also tell you what we don't have. I guess let's start with what we don't have tonight, the cancellations. Heartland Christian at Wellsville girls basketball has been canceled. Poland at Champion girls basketball has been canceled. Lisbon at Malvern has been canceled. That's boys basketball. Camel at Niles has been canceled. Chalker at Wyndham has been canceled. Fitch at East, that was canceled before. Gerard at LeBray, that has been canceled. Harrison Central at East Liverpool has been canceled. Middle Ridge at Cardinal Mooney, canceled. Ravenna at Garfield, canceled. Salem at Hubbard, canceled. United at Jackson Milton, that has been canceled. Urban Scholars at Valley Christian, canceled. And Warren G. Harding at Boardman has been canceled, which leaves us with a short list of games tonight. I believe it's 8 still available on the network tonight. Southern at Heartland Christian, Mark Franken will have the call. The tip-off is slated for 7 p.m. That is on. Anthony Romo will have Springfield at Poland. That is on, and that is big time, boys and girls. That is a big-time game for the power rankings, and we will have it at 7 p.m. Matt Morrison will have Matthews at Badger. He'll be joined by Jeremy Atkins-Hill, who, if you don't know him, he's a great official here in the area. So we're bringing some officials in to give some better linguistics, I guess, some better language for some of these people who believe that we should have some. What was the correct term? film time on some of these games. So Matthews at Badger, that game's going to be at 7 p.m. Lakeview at Newton Falls, that game at 7 p.m. That is on. Howland at Canfield, Richie Juliana will have that call. That game is on, of course. Larry Scragg will have Crestview at Western Reserve. Eric Hughes will have Columbiana at Lowellville. Both those games set for tip at 7 p.m. And finally, we have Canton South at Louisville. Bob Burek and the Louisville bunch will have that game for us. Again, that game slated for 7 p.m. So 8 games still remain on the network tonight as I count them up. So when you look at that, still some games to get us talking. We'll have something to talk about tomorrow in terms of these basketball games. But guys, there's a game that's happening this Friday that I wanted to talk about, at least for a moment. It's the Fight Cancer game, and it happens every year. Obviously, except for the COVID year, we couldn't do anything fancy about that. They still had the game. We couldn't do anything in regards to the production of it. But for the third year now, YSN and myself, we've been absolutely blessed to be able to be part of this game. It's a game that it started out, it was cancer versus cancer to raise money for cancer research and things of that nature. Todd Johnson and Chris Huxell do a great job with organizing this game, and it continues to grow to the point where I think there's 5 schools now that are going to be taking part in this in some way or another. So when you look at that, very cool. But what I wanted to tell you guys was we had the chance to sit down on Saturday with these guys and come up with another hype video. So if you wouldn't mind, sit back and enjoy. I don't know if we're going to get copyright dinged for this, but hell, we'll take a shot at it. So we do not own the rights to this music. We'll put that out there right now. It is for entertainment purposes only, and check it out.
As a child, you would wait and watch from far away, but you always knew that you'd be the one that would while they all play. And you'd lay awake at night and scheme of all the things that you would change, but it was just a dream. From dusk.
There it is, the debut of the 2022 hype video for the Fight Cancer game right here on YSN between Columbiana and Lisbon, played in Lisbon this year. So if you're going to check that out and support the cause, support this year's benefits, which I think is the Melina Edenfield Foundation. So choose joy. That game is going to be played 7 o'clock this Friday. You can watch it here on YSN. You can donate. I believe they have different places to donate, or you could just go to the game in Lisbon, support all the causes that's going on right now. I know, and I'm sure they're going to have different opportunities for you to help the Daly family as well. As it's going to be costly. You know what I mean? Anytime you're dealing with a head injury and things of that nature. So make sure that you support that in one way or another. So thank you again to all the Lisbon folks, to K Squared Marketing for pushing that and for allowing us to be part of it. And of course to Coach Johnson and Coach Huxell for thinking of us for this one more time. So hopefully you guys can still hear us. Usually what YouTube or Facebook will mute us at this point. So we're going to take a break. We come back. Still a lot to talk about. A couple things I really want to discuss is the way that things are shaping up in basketball this year. Very interesting. And I know Donnie has something he wants to talk about as well. We'll be back in just a few minutes on the YSN Power Hour. Don't go anywhere because, well, our sponsors, they want you to listen to them, as you should. Be back right after this.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
Storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local, independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the YSN Power Hour. Before we left, we want to talk about how the basketball season, is shaping up. But before we get to that, the big dogs of the Valley have been released here for Week 7 of the high school basketball season. And there are representatives from Boardman for the boys, Howland, Columbiana United, JFK, and Girard. And for the girls, Edison, Mooney, Poland, Reserve, Liberty, and Waterloo. Now, while all that is well and good, right, for the first time ever, ladies and gentlemen, the first time ever, and I give lots of props to a lot of people, but above all else, Chris Sigler came with this idea and said, we're going to try this. Didn't give me a choice. Said, we're going to try this, and I guarantee you it takes off and starts like wildfire. And ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, the 2022 Wrestling Big Dogs of the Valley is live. People always tell wrestling doesn't get any love, that doesn't get any respect, no coverage. Well, guess what? Boys, now, and girls, for that matter, if you are a wrestler, boy, girl, otherwise, nominate your favorite wrestler. For the next 3 weeks, we will have this for wrestlers. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be hard to take away from what we have here in Week 1. Tyler Stanley of Wellsville is part of the inaugural nominations. Quentin Burns of Liberty, Dylan Smith of Poland, Logan Hours of Beaver Local, Tyler Lintner of Austintown Fitch, and Sean O'Horo of Boardman. You want to talk
how
about...
many times can we nominate Sean O'Horo? I swear to God, I'll nominate him twice a day.
Every single time. Sean is one of our favorites, a huge supporter, he and his dad and his family, really, of YSN. A young man who really, one of the reasons I wanted this to happen. And Chris Sigler is a huge advocate for these wrestlers. He's a huge advocate for so many student athletes, pushing the envelope continuously behind the scenes. So make him look like a hero, ladies and gentlemen. Get out there and not only nominate, but vote for your favorite big dogs of the Valley for wrestling and for basketball this week. You know, soccer players, what that means for you. Don't worry. You'll have your own big dogs next year. So
got some baseball kids coming up, softball.
Baseball and softball and track and field.
Let's go.
Track and field will be represented here on the Big Dogs of the Valley this year. We're excited. It's all-inclusive, right? Donnie, you talk about all-inclusive a lot when it comes to YSN coverage. I know you got a bone to pick with some people out there.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's
Let
going
it rip.
on?
Well, listen, I'm tired of people bashing what YSN is trying to do. If you don't look at YSN as one of the greatest things to ever happen to this valley, to this area, you're looking at it with jealous eyes, because there's not one media source in our local environment that can broadcast to anybody in the world. When we had people from Jamaica watching a girls' basketball game, a meaningless girls' basketball game last Wednesday, okay, when we had people from Japan watching a swimming and dive competition in Worcester, Ohio, it just, people want to sit there and say that other outlets are covering sports the best, local sports, high school sports in our area, whatever it is. Just stop it. Stop it with the BS. Stop it with the crap, because there's nobody, and I mean it sincerely, there is nobody that covers like YSN covers. You're talking about live games broadcasting every night. How many thousand games did you do last year in 2021?
Over 2,500.
Over 2,500 games broadcasted live. Okay, do not sit there and jump on the train because one school or one announcer is biased for a YSN school versus a non-YSN school. Guess what? All you schools out there that aren't YSN schools, talk to your athletic directors. Get on board. It doesn't cost you a dime. All it does is give you exposure for your school, your student athletes, and your community. Why are you trying so hard to stay away from something that your kids deserve, your school deserves, your community deserves? Get on the YSN train. I'm telling you, it's taking off, and you're going to be left out. That's my end.
The best part about it is, again, we say this all the time, it doesn't cost the school anything. In fact, we give them money back, to the point where schools didn't even realize that.
But you don't even have to give them money back. You give them exposure. You give them everything that these kids. I graduated in 1997. My high school years, I would have loved to have YSN show up at my place. Now we had some great stuff. WFMJ with Dana Balish back in the day. Every Saturday morning after Friday Night Lights, every Saturday morning they would do a live show. Yep. That was great. But guess what? That happens every freaking night for YSN. Every night. And I'm sorry that I'm fired up about it, but I'm telling you right now, when I read a comment that some other media source was covering local sports better than YSN, because they have fans take pictures and say, hey, we're covering this game tonight, and fans will send back messages with scores and updates and stuff like that. That's fine. They don't have the resources. They don't have the technology and everything else. That's fine how they cover things. But do not, and I repeat, do not say that YSN is second rate to something like that. Well, then that just tells me that you're a jealous hater with a capital H.
My biggest thing, and I'm not going to sit here and pat us on the back because we haven't done anything. Like, I'm not, that's how we coach around here. We play by the rules of a team, and until we win something, I'm not going to preach that we're the best. But I will say that we work the hardest.
Absolutely,
I will without a doubt say, like, the guy that they were. It was funny because I was the guy that was at Wyndham that night, and they said that the announcing crew, which was me, and in the fourth quarter when they were losing by 50, I brought in a 6-year-old, I think, to start talking about his brother. They said check your facts, and I can take criticism, no problem. Do I know Wyndham basketball? Do I know Matthews basketball? Probably not as much as Salem. Probably not as much as South Range. Probably not as much as the teams around here. But guess what? DJ Gross, who is the athletic director out there at Wyndham, invited us in with open arms because he understands that it's another platform for their athletes to be put on a pedestal. And he thought it was fantastic. Even though they didn't win that night, he thought it was fantastic that we were out there. And, did I have a little bias towards Wyndham? Absolutely. I did.
As you should.
Wyndham welcomed us with open arms and said, yes, whatever you need from us. Do you need water? What do you need? How can we help you make our players look, feel, and be more important? And,
DJ,
I
I call Boardman games.
Mm-hmm.
I called the Boardman Mooney game. Mooney is also a YSN school. Were we biased in either way when we called the game, or were we just excited that there was an awesome game going on?
I don't think we were biased
at all. Plain and simple. But you had the right and the opportunity. You had the right to be biased because it was a YSN school that you were supporting. They supported you. You showed up. You supported them. Matthews, if you have complaints about that, or if other people, Matthews does not have complaints, by the way, about that. But other people watching and listening, saying that you were so biased towards Wyndham, this, that, the other. Okay, Matthews, then jump on the YSN train. Let's go. Harding, jump on the YSN train. Let's go.
Southern. I mean, any school that wants to get coverage, to be nominated for the Big Dogs of the Valley, to have these all-star game opportunities. Listen, we are up for it. We want
Marlington girls, come on.
All of them.
Let's go.
That's the exciting part about all. Excuse me, working myself up here. But when you look at it, the nicest thing though was after that comment was said, and it was well pushed around the internet for about a week. Coach Mike over at Matthews sent me a personal message and said basically, listen, that does not reflect how we feel about you at Matthews. We would love to be part of YSN, and hopefully that happens. Hopefully that comes to fruition because we continue to get out there. I know CJ is working towards get us into Pennsylvania, and that's only a matter of time before that happens because here in East Palestine we're about a 9-iron away from PA anyway. So you're talking Blackhawk and Newcastle. We already talked to Mohawk. We get Beaver and the Bobcats, and I'll tell you what, man, we are on our way. But the biggest frustration I have isn't necessarily us trying to paint anybody else. We are different, right? YSN is different. We are in our own category. We don't necessarily have competition. And some people thought that we were competition. Nobody does what we do. And that's like saying that the Steelers and the Guardians are competition for each. They're in different ballparks. They're different sports. What one media outlet does is completely different than what we do. As a matter of fact, we have damning evidence, if we ever wanted to put it out there, that young man or his team takes our games and takes the scores from our games. Well, that's right. Okay, because at the end of the day, scores are not copyrighted. And I'm glad that he can use his or their or however many people are there in reality or make-believe. He could take the scores and put them out to his people because some people just want the scores. But for the people that want more than highlights, the people that want more than just the game and maybe aren't able to make that game that night, or maybe they are and they want to watch it when they're done being physically at the game, there's us. And that's who we are. We're not going to change because somebody says that they're the best media outlet or we're not the best media outlet. Listen, we're small business. We're not exact. Yes, by default we're media, but we're a business. We're a company. We're not a news station. That's why it's so cool for us to be partnered with Channel 21 WFMJ, because these conversations go a long way with Jack Stevenson and Jack Gerdick and Dana Ballish and the whole sports team, because we can do things that they can't do and they can do things that we can't do. And that's a perfect partnership for us because they love the highlights. We love the games, and we love to write stories and promote kids with live, unedited for the most part, interviews with players and coaches and people in the communities. And, that's why it's so great to be, again, when people ask why are we partnering with Channel 21 and vice versa, this is why, because we're there for each other. I'm happy with the partnership that we have. I'm happy that we make each other better and stronger. And, I would rather be in a speedboat rather than a rowboat, when you're trying to do big things. And right now with us and WFMJ, that speedboat is flying, baby. And I can't wait to see what it does here in 2022. So
yeah, real quick, DJ, to touch on what you said, YSN, the video coverage is huge for baseball. There's no huddle cams. For baseball. Now, yes, for football and maybe from basketball teams, there are huddle cams. But for baseball, there's no huddle cams. So when I had created a highlight tape and sent it out to all these college coaches, hoping that I could get some interest from anybody, I was using YSN clips. You know what I mean? I was, zooming in and using stuff from YSN, the games from YSN, to try and get attention from college coaches. And it ended up working. And, I found a home at Bethany because of a highlight tape that I sent out to entire coaching staffs, trying to get a response back. And it ended up working. And then, we got into financial stuff and other stuff, but I wouldn't even have been in that spot if I didn't have any tape to send out. You know what I mean? So,
well, as long as you take it easy on my Titans, we'll make it. It'll all be good. Okay.
We'll have to see, but
we got problems.
But no, you don't see that anywhere else. You know what I mean? I wasn't sending final scores and pictures to these college coaching staff, so you got to think about that.
CJ, what's the most exciting and just different part of you being part of YSN? You, I would argue you above all three of us are more proud a lot of the time because of what you have to do.
Yeah, and here we don't have a YSN yet. Sometimes the HSSN will come by every 2 months, maybe for a big game. That's basically all the exposure these kids get here. And as unfortunate as it may be, and if they don't make playoffs, well, you can forget about it. I mean, they ain't going to get looked at all. But I've been so appreciative of everything that YSN does. And, I hate just, fluttering everything, everything's all gushy. But really, it's such a great, unique opportunity for, kids to have, their names announced. And as small as that may be, having your name announced is the coolest thing for a kid. It really is. When I was playing, I would have loved it. And beyond that, the opportunity that it allows for a young broadcaster to announce. I mean, yeah, to get experience behind the microphone that it's kind of hard to get that nowadays. And I remember when I was in high school, I would have jumped all over it, just me personally. But
Siege, talk about your confidence.
Such a great thing
as an announcer, man. You have become, I should say, a lot better. And I wasn't saying you were necessarily even bad. It was just you were hesitant, and now you have become one of the top dogs in the field because of the confidence that you've instilled because you put the reps in.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. But when I first got into college, I had a weekly radio show on Rookery Radio, and that's the YSU student-run radio station online. So I had practice as far as just being behind a microphone. I never got to announce a game. That's where my hesitancy came in, because I was nervous I was going to step on feet. And when you get the reps and you practice pronunciation, practice, calling action, and it's a live game. A lot of these games go quickly. Mm-hmm. Getting the reps is the biggest thing out of it, and learning the sport. And for me, when I first started, you had said, "Oh, we want to get you in the basketball court," and I'm like, "Oh, screw that! I don't want to go to basketball. I don't know nothing about basketball." And then the first basketball game, funny story, the first basketball game I did was at East Liverpool this couple months ago, back in December. It was terrible. It was the worst broadcast I ever did. Because it was so quick and fast paced, and I wasn't ready for it. And I wasn't ready to sit in the stands with, laptop in my hand and holding a camera back and forth. I wasn't ready for it. But the practice I've gotten much better, I think.
I suck at the camera. I'm thankful for the huddle cam, buddy. I suck so bad at that camera. DJ did the game with me at East on Saturday, and man, he kept going. He kept pointing to the camera. I'm like, Mackenzie Riccatelli with this huge block, and of course I missed it with the camera. It's just one of those things. It's like you get wrapped up in the game, and you're like, all right, this is awesome, and then you realize, oh wait, I'm talking about this while everybody's staring at a wall. It's like, oh.
Yep.
Yeah,
the funniest thing about this is, CJ, you did it at a young age. Mike McKenzie from Beaver Local did it at a very young age. But the guy, if you're looking at the screen to my right, did it at a significantly young age when he just came in up. Did you message me first and say, hey, I would love to do games at Ysn Park? And you showed up just one day in the booth, and I think you were 14 years old.
Yeah, I was pretty young.
You just killed it, man. You just walked in and knocked it out of the park. No pun intended.
It was funny. I had gotten injured about a month before that, and I was looking for stuff to do. I still wanted to be involved in seeing, and go to games and be able to do stuff down there without being, because I couldn't play. And I always liked to call games. I always liked to watch games. I was always into sports, and broadcasting was something that I was just looking to do, just to get into, just to have fun with it. And sure enough, you guys were down there, and I DM'd you, and oh boy, the fake Pat Narduzzi, he's back. He's back and swinging. But
he's got his eye on you.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna take that pit helmet down. But no,
Tad, it's spelled TRE. Get rid of that Y.
Yeah, it's tough. It's all right.
Donnie, you've come on in the last 6 months?
Sure.
During football season was your first run with YSN. Your confidence has been exuded. Not that you ever lacked it in the first place, but there is a fake it to make it feel when you're behind that microphone that you have not only overcome, but again, when I'm talking about guys that are huge YSN advocates and huge part of the company moving forward, you're right at the top of that list.
I appreciate that, but calling the first, I think the very first thing that I called for YSN was a track meet. And thank God I had Don Mascola doing the track meet with me. When he started talking and he announced, welcome to YSN, and he was like the most professional sounding human being I ever thought of. And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sound like a complete and utter idiot next to this guy. And then we hit it off. We started doing really well. He used my expertise in track and field. He said, you know a lot about this. Why don't you commentate this? Why don't you do that? And then he's like, man, that'd be great if we teamed up for football this year. And then I have a really awesome counterpart in Jason Treveri that does the Boardman boys games with me when he can at home, and picking up some road games. Being that trooper for you guys at YSN, picking up some of those road games too. When Quinn took over the reins of doing that, he's such a great guy. How can you say no to him? So and then picking him up and you doing a game with me, Trey doing a game with me, and I did the very first basketball game I did by myself was when Jonathan Berdovich scored 59 points for Heartland Christian. And again, I kept messing up the freaking camera. It was one of those things where it was like, can't this thing just be stationary for criminy sake? But I was so nervous because the other thing too is Mineral Ridge forgot their away uniforms, and they had to wear Lisbon. So I had no clue who was who. The numbers were all messed up. So I apologized profusely to the people watching, and I kept saying, I'm so sorry I can't announce who that is that scored for Mineral Ridge. I don't have the correct information. And then eventually I found out, as the announcers were announcing their names, I was picking up on some of that stuff. But man, that first game of basketball, doing it by myself, I give everybody in the world that can do it nothing but credit, because it is tough and it's nerve-wracking because – yes, you're out there, you're broadcasting, you're out there talking, but you do, and you're not talking in front of, a captive audience in front of you, right? You're talking to people that may be on, watching and everything else. So you have to sound somewhat intelligent and move the camera, for Christ's sake. Does
it make you nervous when I send you how many people listened or how many people watched?
No, after the fact, no.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me. If you send it to me during, I'll be like, oh no, But no, it's fun. And then like we've incorporated so many things. Like Trey was asking me, he's like, oh, who do you want to do play by play? I said, Trey, here's what's awesome about me. We're gonna talk about the game.
Yep.
We're gonna talk about the game, and then you'll see it'll just flow. And man, we went back and forth with each other. We had so much fun talking about this, talking about that, and we were hooping and hollering, and it was just you make it. If you sit there and you go, the ball's passed up to the wing over to the top of the key. Like, no, we're not. No, that just sounds silly.
So we're cracking dad jokes. That's all I like.
Yeah, that's what we do. Well, we had when Boardman played pitch the other night at Boardman. People were talking about, all right, what's your fourth quarter trivia going to be? We were naming the top 5 pizza places in the area, and Wedgwood Pizza is originated in Austintown, so we paid homage to that. It's just like different things that we just bring up during the broadcast, and oh, by the way, the game's going on at the same time.
Yep.
I
can't wait. It's bigger and better, man, and it's just gotten faster and stronger in the last 3 months or so. So, gentlemen, keep doing what you're doing. Criticism. Just remember, they don't build statues of critics. So keep that in mind the next time somebody gives you any negative criticism. Take it for what it's worth. If it's bad, if you don't like it, throw it out. If there's stuff that we can work on, we'll definitely do it. We're not afraid of criticism, but we certainly don't build a reputation on it. So, again, all these games tonight you can take a look at on the website ysnlive.com/live. We have a quick that doesn't even look like me, which is funny. The DJ Folkley one. Chat question of the day: best basketball you saw live in high school. Says, I know you don't have a whole lot of time, so go with it. All right, Donnie, best basketball you've ever seen live in high school,
Like while I was in high school,
or that you've ever seen at the high school level.
LeBron James against Short Junior Republic. Done.
Okay. CJ.
Well, I never watched basketball in high school, so I couldn't tell you. But the best game I saw this year covering for YSN was the recent game, East Liverpool and Beaver Local. That was a great game between those two teams.
You can never go wrong with that. Let's go, Trey.
Easy. Chris Livingston, Akron Bookdole against Ursuline a few years ago. Kentucky commit now, 6'8". LeBron follows him on Instagram. That dude is a killer.
Mine's going to be the Lisbon versus Akron St. V's game way back in the day when LeBron posterized some of the Blue Devils. I know Chris Huxold and Quinn Pushkar are not going to be happy to hear that one, but as a guy who was Lisbon and Palestine were like this back in that day, I couldn't have been happier. To see LeBron dunk right on his nugget. So, all right, let's get to our mainstay. This people look forward to this, and I love it. And I know Eric Carlson over at Joe Dickey loves it too. So stand by. It's the Joe Dickey Electric. What's your spark? Joe Dickey Electric proudly powering the Valley for the last 60. I was looking for that word. I knew it would start with a P. Powering the Valley for the last 60-plus years. Visit them today at joedickieelectric.com. Or no, just dickieelectric.com. Excuse me. CJ, you want to go first?
Sure. So we were talking about earlier in the show the size of high school playoffs in football. I guess you could say this is a negative spark. So the CBA disagreement between MLB and MLB players is going on right now, and they were discussing the size of the playoffs, what the playoff size should be, and they were discussing maybe 14 teams out of 30. As much of a fence sitter as I am for high school sports, I am very, 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 very strongly against a big playoff for the professional level. We saw this past weekend, there were some bad games in football, some bad games, and that should just show you it really doesn't need to be half the league makes it to the playoffs in the professional level. And I hate the idea of a 500 team getting into the playoffs. You're professionals. You're making a lot of money. You don't need to be getting yourself a little participation trophy. Now, if you get in the wild card, you're 500. Well, good. That just means the rest of the league was bad. But, I'm very anti. It needs to be five teams from each league. That's it, period.
All right. Trey.
So this was meant to be mine on yesterday, but something else. I want to do something else. But late Friday, I'm a huge UFC junkie. You guys know this. Two of my favorite fighters are fighting on March 5th. Covington versus Masvidal. As much as whatever you think about them, they are two of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC. And the trash talk is going to be Conor McGregor levels. So I cannot wait for the press conferences. I can't wait for the week. I'm debating on going to it. So I am beyond excited for that fight.
All right, and we move to D. Ricks.
My spark is simple. Everybody, just jump on board the YSN train. Be positive for everything that YSN and DJ and Scott have been able to do over the short period of time that they've actually gotten rolling here. If you are going to be a critic, back it up with something that you can back it. Like, don't sit there and just run your mouth just to run your mouth. So, my spark is going to be, I love every single thing that YSN has been doing. Keep up the great work, and let's just get better.
Get better every day. That's what that's what it's all about, and that's the pushing the envelope. And it's funny because when you bring more people in, everybody's got more ideas and thoughts of what it should be, and I'm okay with that, right? Because that's why it's your sports network. It's not my sports network per se, but it's everybody else's, and we want it to be everybody else's. We want people in the communities to have a say of who we are and what we become, for good and for bad. It is what it is. We're going to make mistakes, and I'm open to that constantly. I encourage making mistakes, but only if it makes you stronger, bigger, or faster, right? So you're never going to see us settle. That's the one thing I can promise you. We're never going to settle. We're never going to be good enough. We're going to be great, or we're going to work towards becoming great. And that is who we are and what we do. And I don't know how many times I can preach it before somebody finally figures out that at the end of the day, we're not, yes, are we a business? Yes. Are we here to make money? Yes. But the number one goal for us is to be there for the kids, the programs, the coaches, and the communities. That is it. We're loyal, we're local, we're live. That is it. The basis of our mission is that. If we make money along the way, fantastic. Everybody knows that broadcasters don't make a hell of a lot of money in the first place. So at the end of the day, it's one of those things where we're going to continue to do what we do well, and that is put our blood, sweat, and tears into these stories, these games, and these accounts that these kids can have forever. Whether you have one great shot, one day, one game, and you can live it the rest of your life, and maybe you use it as the story at your wedding, or to marry the girl of your dreams, to bring her in, or vice versa. We're going to be there. We're going to be there, and that's the whole point, is we will be there. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying the series of commercials that we've been producing about it not being our sports network, but it's your sports network. So that's going to do it for our show. We're a little bit in overtime. Thank you for sticking around. Appreciate it, Donnie. Appreciate it, Trey. Appreciate it, CJ. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Scotty joins us here on the latest on YSN's Power Hour. See you, boys.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation